Hi, I'm Pastor Elise Rothfuss, Director for Evangelical Mission of the Central Southern Illinois Synod. With at least another month before small groups can safely begin worshiping together in person, and months before worship has the possibility to look anything like it did back in February, now is a great time to consider electronic giving options for your congregation. Your disciples want to be generous. Those who worship with you online want to support the ministry that your congregation is doing. So offering easy ways to give and multiple ways to give is something that your leadership ought to consider. What is electronic giving? It encompasses a number of things. It includes bill pay through a bank, giving on a church website, giving through an app on a smartphone, or even texting to give. Bill pay is set up by individuals themselves. Congregations, however, can offer these other electronic ways quite easily. Let me share a few reasons why I think electronic giving is important. First, we are currently in a time when people are encouraged to stay at home and worship at home. The offering plate is not being passed, and even when we do come back together for worship, not everyone will be coming to worship. And for health reasons, the offering plate will not be passed down the pews in the same way it used to be. While people are more than welcome to mail their offering to the congregation, it still requires counters to handle money at church and take it to the bank. Having electronic giving options reduces the time needed for person-to-person contact. Secondly, handling money electronically is the way of the future. Studies show that cash and check transactions continue to decrease, while more and more transactions are being made by debit and credit cards or other electronic means. Most people under 50 rarely carry cash or a checkbook with them. Many of those under 30 don't even have a checkbook. Setting up electronic offering gives people more ways to give and increases the likelihood of young people giving an offering both now and in the future. And if you think your older disciples aren't online, data suggests that nearly 50% of those 65 and older do have smartphones, and many of them already pay bills electronically. Third, electronic giving allows people to give whenever and wherever they are. Whether people worship online Sunday morning or Tuesday evening or at 1:00 a.m., they can still make an offering during that worship. Or if they are away from home, they can still support the congregation's ministry from afar without having to find an envelope or stamp. We also should remember that online worship now brings us worshipers from near and far, and they may also want to support your congregation's ministry. Lastly, disciples are encouraged to practice good stewardship, which includes being intentional about our generosity and being part of God's work of ministry through the church. When people give electronically, they are given the option to make their gift a regular, recurring transaction. Setting up a recurring transaction gives disciples another way to show their commitment to the work of Jesus and steward their resources for God's work. The regularity of their gifts also stabilizes the congregation's income, so the congregation can plan well for ministry. To make electronic giving options more accessible, the ELCA has agreements with two online giving vendors, Tithely and GivePlus. We are not salespeople for GivePlus or Tithely, but these agreements do reduce the costs for ELCA congregations. For example, there are no monthly, annual, or contract fees with them. Signing up with Tithely or GivePlus gives your disciples the ability to make a single donation or set up recurring donations online and track their giving history. This can be done on a computer, whether or not your congregation has a website, or by using Tithely or GivePlus's smartphone apps. A giving portal can easily be added to your congregation's website as well. There are transaction fees incurred for each donation. These can be offset by allowing givers to cover that cost. Most congregations find that the frequency and regularity of electronic offerings more than makes up for those fees. Give Plus and Tithely also offer a text-to-give option, though that does come with a monthly fee, so you would want to consider whether you have enough people using that method for it to be worth the cost. Some people do have concerns about electronic giving. The cost of these electronic services. As I mentioned before, most often when electronic giving options are easy, people are more likely to make use of it and give more regularly than they may have before, and this generally offsets the cost. Plus, generous givers are more than glad to cover the transaction fees themselves when given the opportunity. Security. Tithely and Give Plus follow standard financial procedures, and your financial information is secure with them. No one in the congregation has access to your account information, only a record of what you've given. Some people are concerned that not physically putting something in the offering plate misses the worshipful nature of an offering. And we appreciate this desire for worshipfulness. Right now, though, nobody is able to give offering like they used to, and we will all need to adjust our offering practices once we return to worship. We will need to find new ways to acknowledge our offering as an act of worship. Finally, let me add that if your congregation is worshiping online right now, keep a time of offering during the worship. Give worshipers the opportunity to continue being generous givers by including your church's mailing address, or when you do have online options, giving an app or website instructions on the screen or in the chat box. Allow a time for them to write a check or make an electronic offering. People want to participate in Jesus' ministry more than just during worship. And while some people may not be able to give as much now, others may be more than willing. Follow up on that sense of generosity. Electronic giving allows them to give from wherever they are at any time the Spirit moves them. I hope this gives you some things to consider as your congregation continues thinking about what best ministry practices look like in this time of COVID-19. For more details about electronic giving options, visit our Synod's website, www.cs-elca.org/stewardship, and download the Getting Started with Electronic Giving document, or contact me, Pastor Elise Rothfuss, with questions or concerns. Thank you so much for the ministry you do in sharing the good news and hope of Jesus with your community.